My father was very principled, very unique in his approach to bringing up children, and so he made my two older sisters and I, after dinner, read the annual reports of the companies that my parents had invested in, to read it aloud. Little did I know that I would end up having a career in finance. I've always tended to focus on things that allow me to feel that I'm making an impact on society. So excellence is why I aspired to go to Harvard Business School. Impact on society is why earlier on I worked for an investment banking boutique in Nigeria, where I thought that earlier on in my life I can make a difference. Being appointed the World Bank Treasurer for me was really special. Being treasurer of any of the development banks and of the World Bank gives you an opportunity to connect capital markets to development, and it was something that always met my core desire to make sure that I was involved in things that were having an impact on society in a very profound way. 2015 was a particularly important time for development. First, in July of 2015, global leaders agreed that we need to move from billions to trillions in terms of the funding that is available for development. In September of 2015, the Sustainable Development Goals, the global goals, were agreed upon, because it meant that global leaders, the world at large, realized that we couldn't nickel and dime about development, but we needed to think creatively about how we raise the resources that the world needs. I still get very emotional when I talk about the launching of the pandemic bond at the end of June last year. First, I think it showed the important role that the World Bank plays in some of the most challenging issues that affect the world. Second, the pandemic bond was very personal for me because I lived in Nigeria when Ebola struck in Guinea, Sierra Leone, and Liberia. And we were fortunate in Nigeria, and the world was fortunate that, that Nigeria handled the issues such that it didn't become a pandemic, because if it became a pandemic in Nigeria, it would probably become a pandemic for the rest of the world. And so I really appreciated that Jim, our president, and the board decided that it was important to work on a structure that would make sure that we have a facility that is a standby facility, so that if ever there was a pandemic that arose from a developing country, that the world can move quicker than it moved. Of course, the ultimate for me is being able to bring the International Development Association to the capital markets. I think that this is transformative for capital markets, and it is something that we worked on from November of 2015 to April 17, 2008, when we launched the IDA transaction.
Congratulations. I'm the normal Thank
you. There is still much to be done for us to realize the SDGs and eradicate extreme poverty. Entering the capital markets is an innovation that allows us to do so, as it expands IDA's lending capacity by 50%. It is an interesting point around what has been the role of the capital markets in the past. I mean, at the beginning, 70 years ago when we did our first bond, what is the role of the capital markets today, and what could be the role going forward? My view is that the World Bank the multilateral development agencies demonstrate what indeed has been the role of the capital markets. Even from the very beginning, we supported France, we supported Japan with their first bullet train, we supported Singapore, whether in infrastructure, in the environment. We're a partner in agriculture, we're a partner in education, we're a partner in health. And we will not be able to do this without being able to leverage capital markets. What I think is important is really to take advantage today of the fact that investors are really saying, what does my money do? Are focusing on sustainability because, of course, as the World Bank, we've been doing sustainability since the World Bank was founded. And if the world is now focused on what does it mean for me? If millennials are today the decision makers, if they're going to inherit $30 trillion from their baby boomer parents, what we must make sure is that we provide the instruments that enable them to do all this. So, well, the president was the task team leader for the pandemic bond. He was the task team leader for the IDA launch. He's already announced that he's the task team leader for the famine bond. So the team's working on the possibility of us bringing a famine bond to market in the near future. So innovation is absolutely important. It's been great to reflect on the last 70 years as we think about the next 70 years. And I hope that in 20 years' time, that we will have a world that is indeed free of poverty, a world where the inequalities that we see today does not exist, a world where there is indeed shared prosperity, and that I and my talented colleagues in the World Bank Treasury can look back and say, yes, it is because of some of the work that we did that we have the kind of outcome that we have today.